Hey, welcome to my run. Look at this like Jurassic Park jungle that I'm running against here. Look at that green. It's really beautiful. So this morning I published one of my shorts. It's about breathing. Cause like this is a thing that you kind of think you have covered all the time, right? You're like, I know how to breathe. The thing is, you have to learn how to breathe for certain situations, which is not something you'd really think of. And like when you give it some consideration, there are many, many kinds of meditation who take as their object the breath. So this is just concentrating only on your breath, just focusing only on your breath. And you're like, bitch, I know how to breathe. But when you're meditating, you're like really, really being mindful of it. So the thought about focusing or being mindful of your breathing during certain activities is actually really relevant. I know a ton of people who, when they come to Thailand, they're really mentally lost because they're like, I can run 10K. Like, it's not a cardio thing, but for some reason, I can't do 3 rounds on the pads or I completely gas out within a single round of sparring. And they're like, I don't understand what this is. I'm like, it's the way you breathe. Like, I don't know how to breathe while swimming, so I can't swim very well. And the way you breathe when you're running, which is steady state, is very different than the way you need to breathe when you are sparring or doing pads or something, because this is like in running they call it fartlek training, which is like constantly changing your speed. This is what it's like when you're hitting pads. Even the bag you can kind of control your own breathing a lot more than other situations. But like when you have pressure in front of you, which is what a pad man or a sparring partner or something like that creates for you, you breathe very differently. And more often than you would imagine, you're holding your breath. Like you're not even aware of the fact that you're holding your breath. So I became aware of this by getting completely like ready to vomit out of breath in sparring because of all the pressure. And I realized that I know how to breathe out on a strike. They call this like ki in karate or something, but in Muay Thai you make a sound too. That's, you hear people like oi, oi, ah, whatever. People like that, whatever the thing is. It's the same in weightlifting. Like when you see people in the gym weightlifting, people have their own grunts. They have their own weird sounds that they make while they're lifting the weight, because exhaling upon exertion is totally how the body works. So in any given sport, in any given thing that you're doing, the exhale is the important part. The thing is, when you're doing pads, or especially in sparring, you hold your breath in anticipation of being hit back. It's a bracing. And so you've exhaled and now you're holding your breath and you're not inhaling, and you don't get a chance to inhale before you're doing something else, and you end up suppressing your breathing in a really, really significant way. Eventually, as you learn to kind of like relax in general because you're less mentally stressed by these situations, you just start breathing kind of naturally anyway. Like you find where your inhales should be without really looking for them. If you have a problem where you're gassing all the time because you're not inhaling, you need to just become mindful of when you're holding your breath and then stop doing that. You don't have to be like, I need to inhale here. You need to stop holding your breath there. So find where you're holding your breath and stop doing that. I was talking to Yodkumpan this morning when we were sparring, because I had just put this short up and a lot of people were kind of interacting with it. And so I was kind of thinking about like, when do I inhale? So during sparring, I started paying attention to when I inhale, and someone in the comments had asked me, do you exhale or inhale during a block? And my initial response was usually exhale. Like if you're blocking a punch or something to your body, for sure, if it's to your body, you need to be exhaling. But I was noticing that I'm inhaling when I'm like checking a kick. So it's not like it has to be this or it has to be that. You don't want to be inhaling when someone is hitting your body. That's like 100% true. But you can be inhaling when you're like checking a leg kick or something like this. But I noticed, as I was being more mindful of my own inhaling and how I was breathing and sparring, I breathe very, very naturally in, out, slow, like not sucking air in quickly in order to be able to exhale it again. I'm not like gasping air in order to be able to push it out on a strike. Like it's very like how I'm breathing now to talk. I keep exhaling in order to form the words. So if I'm saying a whole sentence, it's all one exhale, and then I breathe in because there's a pause. This is very similar to when you're striking. If you have 2 strikes that are really close together, you can breathe out for both of those, and then you'll just very naturally breathe back in when you're on the end of it. Not sucking air, but I'm just breathing in between words. It's like this. And when I asked Yodkumpan, how do you breathe in? when you're doing stuff, because I know how I do it, I don't know how he does it. He said the exhale is the only important part, and then he smiled and he said, but you don't want anyone to know when you're inhaling. And I thought, I immediately understood what he meant. If you hit someone while they're inhaling, you have a very, very good chance of hurting them. And so you don't want people to know very easily that you're inhaling, one, because you don't want to be gasping for air, but two, you don't want people to be able to time that. So you just want to breathe very, very naturally. So all of this, I've been talking for 5 minutes now. I can talk 5 minutes on something that I made a 20-second video about. And this is something that goes to show that techniques are not some little like bite-sized piece of something. Like you can take the bite-sized piece and go and work on it, but in order to really understand something, you can actually consider it and think about a lot of different elements of it. I used to do Sylvie's technique vlog, which was basically this. It was basically this vlog talking about breathing. But it was for all of the techniques instead of making them very tiny. So the tiny ones, when I put up the short, there are long explanations that can go around them, but the idea can be given in just a little seed. Like you can just take that seed and go plant it, which is, I don't know, pretty cool. I keep thinking about this thing. It goes along in the same idea of like, something will seem like a very, very quick fix. Like, where should I step? And that will completely change what your technique is. And this is true. Like, there are times when people are off balance and the thing they need to do in order to stop being off balance is some tiny little thing. It's tightening up the offhand, it's where their foot is planting, it's being in alignment with their knee and their hip and their shoulder, where their head is. Like, it can be these tiny, tiny things like this. But it can also be an incredibly complicated thing that at its essence is very, very small, but finding that can be a whole complicated thing. I was reading about how a car company in France that was making tanks or something for Nazi Germany, there was one guy in the plant who sabotaged it by moving the little notch on the dipstick down so that they would run out of oil much sooner than they ever thought, and when they would check it with the dipstick, it would look like it had enough oil. And nobody would ever think that this is the problem. So you completely ruin the engine, you kill the machine, and because it's this teeny tiny thing, it becomes impossible to find what it is to fix that problem. It's kind of like this. You're sabotaging yourself in this tiny, tiny thing that is hard to find, but not necessarily hard to fix. I was laughing because I don't know if you guys watch, oh man, I can't remember what it's called. These dogs are completely freaking out and I'm not sure whether I need to be worried about them or not. Hold on a second. Oh no, they're just eating. Okay. These dogs are just eating and they're very nervous, so they're like coming out and grabbing it and running back in. I thought they killed a cat or something and we're like trying to pull on it, or maybe there was a puppy that was in trouble and they needed help. They're fine, it's no problem. I can't believe I can't remember the name of the show. It's the one where the guy turns himself into a pickle and it's a grandpa and his grandson, and I'm such an idiot that I can't remember what it's called. Rick and Morty. Woo! Alright. So I was thinking about Rick and Morty because there's this very, very, very funny episode in which Rick creates these, like, I don't know, they're kind of like psychic, wishful entities. They're called Mr. Meeseeks. And basically they grant wishes in a way. And so everyone can ask for one wish and the Mr. Meeseeks will like grant this for you. And the daughter wants to be more popular and the wife wants to be more fulfilled as a woman or something. And these are granted immediately and very, very easily. Like the girl just suddenly has a lot more friends. The mom is like flirting with a guy who's not her husband at dinner, like she's just kind of getting more attention in a kind of like I'm a sexually attractive woman way. And the dad, who's a complete doofus in the show, or the husband rather, not the dad, but the husband asks to take, like, he wishes to take one stroke off of his golf game or something. And it turns into this like endlessly difficult thing that cannot immediately be granted. So Mr. Meeseeks is like trying to get him the skills necessary to take a whole stroke off of your game. And he's like teaching him the skills of like how to hold the club and like how to rotate and all this different type of stuff. And the dad just wants it to be instantaneously. He wants it to be like a wish. And Mr. Meeseeks starts going insane because he's like, I shouldn't exist this long. Like I shouldn't be trying to help you through this wish for this long. I'm supposed to like grant a wish and disappear. It's so funny. But the brilliance of this, of why the husband's wish can't be granted, whereas the two women's can, is that honestly, feeling more fulfilled, like being more fulfilled as a woman or being more popular, are pretty much feelings. Like you have to change how you feel about yourself or how you consider your life, or you literally just change your mind about how you feel about something. When you need an actual skill to like take a whole whatever it's called, a whole stroke off of your game, that's a skill that requires a lot of work. So had the husband wished for something like, I wish to be satisfied with the number of strokes I currently have in my game, that would have worked. That would have been instantaneous. And this is very much like Muay Thai. I think for the longest time, long time, and probably still slightly now, I was like, I want to be better. Like, I want to be better at Muay Thai. I want to be really good at Muay Thai. This doesn't fucking mean anything. This is like an imaginary thing. So even if you wish, like, I want to be world champion or something like this, that might happen. It requires a lot of work, but you're not actually going to feel the way you thought you were going to feel necessarily about that thing. So like Ronda Rousey won the gold medal in judo, and she talks about how being this like gold medalist Olympian was this amazing thing that suddenly she just went back to her regular life. She used her money to buy a Toyota, and then it was like, what now? And so you think that your wish is to be world champion, or you think that your wish is to, you know, be good, but your actual wish is a feeling that you want about that. It's how you think you're gonna feel when you become world champion or when you become good. So I've slowly, in the cheating the Mr. Meeseeks, understanding how you actually get your wish way, I've started to understand over time that what I actually want is to feel free. I want to feel like what it would feel like if I were amazingly good. Being good, I have no fucking idea if I'll ever be good. Feeling like I'm really good is like feeling more fulfilled as a woman or being more popular or something like this. But the wanting to be good or wanting to be world champion or whatever the thing is, that requires a lot of work and is possibly unattainable, and even worse than that, could be attainable and then you don't feel about it the way you thought you were going to feel about it. So these are connected somehow in my brain when I'm running about these tiny little things that you can explain in a little kernel, and you can fix this or you can fix that, and it's a tiny thing that can make a huge difference in how you do something or how well you do something. But being able to just do that small tweak can be a very long road. Like in my last fight, I was being yelled at by my corner because I was blocking like crazy, but I wasn't doing anything back. So he wants me to block and then kick back. That is a super simple thing, and that's the thing that I understand, and that's the thing I can immediately go work on in my training. But if I don't work on it in my training, it's not gonna happen. That's not the kind of thing you can just wish to have happen. A thing that I could wish to have happen is not feel fucking bad about being told that I'm doing something wrong by my corner. And honestly, I didn't feel terribly bad about that. I was like, yes, you're right, instead of being like, oh my God, I suck. So be careful how you wish rather than what you wish for, I guess. Like, be truthful about how you ask for things for yourself so that you can actually work on the proper things to get what you actually want and where you actually want to go. And I think that there's a very big difference between understanding things that are a mental change and understanding things that are an actual physical, emotional, mental skill, all of these things packed together, and understanding how difficult each one of those things is going to be and how rewarding each one of those things is going to be. Because even though the skill is much harder, ultimately the reward is how you think about it. So you either have to do them both together or just find the mental pathway, because you can get there physically and not have the mentality, and then you don't have what you wanted. There's a really, really beautiful line. It's Neil Gaiman. It's in the Sandman graphic novels. And I don't remember which one it's in, but I think it's Morpheus who says it. And I am very close to getting this tattooed on myself because I really love it. He says, sometimes the price of getting what you want is getting what you wanted. And this means a couple of things. One is, by the time you get it, it's not what you want anymore. It's what you wanted before. And you kind of realize once you have it that this is not really what you wanted. And the other thing is that sometimes things take so long to get that by the time you get it, you don't want that anymore. And I can think of many, many things that I, as a younger person, really, really wanted. And by the time they come to you, you don't really want them anymore. And it's like, now I have it. Now is this thing that I wanted so badly, and I don't really want it anymore. And that's the price. That's the cost. And that sounds a little bit depressing, but it's change, you know? Change is what lets you know that time is happening. That's also from Sandman, but I think that's Delirium who says that. All right, I'm out. Thanks for coming to Sylvie's book review.